So hello everyone. I thought I would take you on a quick car trip, something I haven't done in the past, but I thought it would be kind of fun. So this is Hanging Out with Popsy Guy. We're here on Perdido Key. And I wanted to talk with you today about something that jumped onto my radar. If you don't know, I like to collect quotes from different people. Like I have a whole list of quotes from Winston Churchill, and Stephen Wright. And if you're not familiar with who Stephen Wright is, he's a comedian from the Boston area. Somebody that he's a contemporary of mine. He's probably only a couple of years older than me. But he broke into the comedy scene in Boston before comedy was a thing. Right now you've got all kinds of Comedy Central shows and really good comics that make a living going out and doing stand-up. And Stephen Wright was probably one of the first ones to be picked up. Anyway, short story long. He's got a quote that says, "Experience is something that you don't get until just after you need it." Think about that for a second. Experience is something that you don't get until just after you need it. And I think that's hilarious because part of the pillars of this channel, Hanging Out with Popsy Guy, is wisdom, experience, right? So that's the second one, encouragement, and humor. So Stephen Wright fits into 2 out of 4 of those, experience and humor. But a lot of folks on YouTube that I follow, they're awesome because they do something that a lot of YouTubers don't do. They're very authentic. They tell you their personal story. And usually it's an experience that they've had or an experience that they're going through that gives them wisdom. But it is true, right? You don't get that experience in some cases till long after you need it. I'll share with you a quick story about me, right? I'm trying to grow this channel, and I'd love to monetize it at some point to supplement Social Security and my part-time work. And one of the things about growing a YouTube channel that a lot of the YouTube coaches are talking about is the ability to run a business or to be an entrepreneur. And, you know, something that my daughter or my kids can probably attest to this because they think I'm pretty weird when I say this. I think, why doesn't everybody think the way I think? And that's not being arrogant saying the way I think is right. It's just that I have a way of thinking and it's pretty simple. It's not very complicated. And I'm wondering why, am I missing something? How come other people don't think that way? And being an entrepreneur, I think, is one of those things. Being an entrepreneur is a mindset. And YouTube coaches who are helping young YouTubers, when I say young, not necessarily age-wise, but just people new to YouTube, they're not only teaching them how to be good on the camera, how to use editing software, be good storytellers, they're sharing with them how to be entrepreneurs. Even if some of these folks, and I know for a fact that I would say a majority of them, have never been entrepreneurs before. So it's an experience that they haven't had that they need right now to share with other people, but they're also talking to people who don't have that experience either, which I think is ironic because they're in essence learning together, which is very cool, right? I mean, I think there's it's a proverb. I want to say it's an Indian proverb that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. So that's cool. That the whole community school, there are plenty of school communities that I belong to that they're very encouraging. But there's not a lot of talk, and I think there should be more about what an entrepreneur really is. And I've started 4 businesses on my own, and 2 of which I managed and grew over a 10-year period, 2 separate 10-year periods. One was couldn't get it off the ground with some other folks. It was very early on in technology. This is when the iPhone first became popular. It was helping people design mobile applications. It didn't catch on. I think it was a little too ahead of its time. And I had no idea about technology. My job as the front person was to pretty much get people excited about it and help them see the vision. And that's really what an entrepreneur does. An entrepreneur sets the vision. So the other two businesses that I started from scratch, again, we call them lifestyle practices because I wasn't interested in hiring and building it out to be a multi-million-dollar corporation. I did it mainly for two reasons, both of these businesses, because I saw a need in the marketplace and I was able to design and envision how these companies would look the way I wanted to. And again, not that the way I did it was right, not that other people who do something similar are wrong. It's just because it was a lifestyle. I wanted to not sell my soul to a lifestyle of entrepreneurship and trying to gain dollars. That's how I managed the business. And the other two, one was actually both of them were cut short because of the pandemic. One was a recruiting business that I started right before the pandemic. That didn't work out. Anyway, all that to be saying that being an entrepreneur is coming up with an idea where you feel that there's an opportunity in the market for your idea to flourish. And that's really what YouTube has given thousands of people the opportunity to do. And there's no shortage of things that you can look up on YouTube that someone there can teach you how to do. And there's no shortage of YouTube coaches that can teach you how to do this. Because I've had that experience in starting businesses from scratch, the biggest hurdle I have to overcome in being a YouTube creator is this, right? Is the idea generation, or they call it ideation. That's a fancy word for what am I going to talk about? So as an entrepreneur, somebody who literally stays awake watching the ceiling fan spin and thinking about different ideas, one of the things that a good entrepreneur, in my mind, again, if this doesn't ring true, let me know, is the willingness to try it out and fail. Because you will fail. Not fail and quit, but it's like Edison. The saying goes that he found 10,000 different ways that a light bulb where a light bulb didn't work, right? 10,000 failures before he got the light bulb to work. I butchered that, but you know what I'm trying to say. So being an entrepreneur in the YouTube space is being willing to try different things and fail and then learn. And failure, what does that mean? I don't know. As a business owner, I always kept metrics, right? Numbers, fancy word for I would track all of my key performance indicators. How many conversations I had, right down the list to how much revenue I generated, how much it cost to generate that revenue. YouTube, having a YouTube channel is no different, but you get instant feedback. For example, once I upload this video and title it and create the thumbnail, things I've already got in mind, it goes into the YouTube verse, the universe of YouTube, and then their algorithm will determine whether or not it's worthy for you to see. I have no control over who sees this video. None. I can't say, like an ad placement, I want you to put it here and here, because that's where the most eyeballs will be. It's truly the bazillions of people who have access to YouTube if it catches their fancy. If not, they just keep scrolling away. And that's a risk I take, and that's a risk all YouTubers take. Some of us come up with what we think are the best ideas. It's going to kill it. People are going to love it. I'm going to get billions of views, and it's going to be awesome. And then you make the mistake of checking the YouTube studio to see how it's faring, and it's like, it's going nowhere and nowhere fast. And you know what? There's an awful lot of folks like me that say, dang, man, I thought that was going to be a good idea. What happened? That's just the nature of the beast. That's called the free market, the open market, right? There are 8 billion people on the planet. A quarter of them probably have access to YouTube. Am I arrogant enough to believe that they're going to turn on hanging out with Popsy Guy? And by the way, if this is your first time, thank you very much. I challenge you to go on YouTube and put in the search bar, hanging out with Popsy Guy. You'll get hanging out with Popsicle Guy. I have no idea who that person is. I don't know who came first, me or that channel, but it frustrates me every time because I've got friends that say, hey, I know you got a channel, let me check it out. I tell them what the name is. They say, no, I can't find it because it's Popsicle Guy and that's not you. So that's another challenge an entrepreneur has, is getting their product or their service noticed. And I've always said this, and you can write this down as a quote. If you've ever been in business or you're an entrepreneur, it's the only competition you and I have is the ignorance of the market. Now, I'm not saying people are stupid. What I'm saying is they don't know you're there. And that's the definition of being ignorant. It has nothing to do with your intelligence level. It has everything to do with the fact that you just don't know. So the ignorance of the market is your biggest challenge when starting anything new. Any new business venture, any new project, anything that you want to do to promote an idea, the challenge that you have is not your skills, it's not your personality, it's not your marketing budget, it's nothing other than people don't know you exist. And that's the uphill battle. And you can throw all the money that you have, because I've done this, at trying to solve that problem and be the 1 out of 1 million that actually solves it by throwing money at it. It still doesn't work because people are fickle. What they enjoy 1 minute, they don't enjoy the next. Just ask anybody that you know that's ever opened a restaurant. They had a great concept. They spent loads of money building out that concept, having a really unique offering, and it took off for a while. And they thought, this is great, I'll open another location, do the same thing someplace else. And that one failed. And then the first one ends up failing. And it's not because they weren't good at what they did, it's because people are fickle. 1 minute they like something, the next minute they don't. And the biggest challenge, again, to being a YouTube creator and creating an audience like we're doing here, hanging out with Popsy Guy in a community, is TikTok and Shorts and Facebook, whatever they call it, and Facebook Reels. People, even us older people, man, we're riddled with ADD. If it doesn't catch our fancy, man, we go to the next one. You know why? Because there's an endless supply. So there's the biggest challenge. Anybody that's interested in starting a YouTube channel, you are, and I know you've heard this before if you're investigating it, you are what's called the niche. I started this out by talking about experience is something you get after you need it. When starting a new YouTube channel, your experience of just hitting that little red button and doing this, having a conversation with a camera, is invaluable. And you have to do it the first time to understand that. Another thing, I'm famous for saying a lot of stuff. I should write all this famous Popsy Guy sayings instead of stealing others' quotes. Is that you don't learn how to swim by reading a book, right? I don't know how old you were when you learned how to swim, but more than likely, if you're my age, there were no floaties. Nobody really cared about giving you a life vest. They basically pushed you off the edge of the pool and see how you did. And they're there to save you, without a doubt. But that's how you learned, right? You overcome the fear. You realize that your survival instincts kink in, and then bang, it's not as scary the next time that you do it. So that's the encouragement, right? Wisdom, experience, encouragement. Humor is just, it's Friday afternoon and I'm able to do that. No, oh my gosh, that's the humor part. I don't even know what day it is. Today's Wednesday. But the encouragement is, if you're at all interested in starting your own YouTube channel, I don't care if you're over 40, I don't know why that's such a magic metric when all these coaches say you've got to start a YouTube channel after the age of 40 or at the age of 40. I know when I was 40, I was too busy. I was too busy trying to build my businesses, take care of my family, be with the kids, do all the things that 40-year-old parents do, to worry about starting a YouTube channel. But I am talking to you if you're over the age of 60, which I am. You have a lot to offer. And it doesn't matter the format that you use. By format, I mean you could be a talking head. This, as I said, is an experiment for me. I've never done this before. Just driving. I'm driving along Perdido Key Drive. We just crossed into the line over Alabama, and it's a beautiful day. And I don't know what it's going to look like on camera. I don't know if it means anything to you, but that's the experiment of the day. So if you're over the age of 60, I highly encourage you to start your own YouTube channel. Reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm not at 1,000 subscribers yet. I really think that that's somehow the magic number to kind of take this to the next level. But I can tell you right now, I'm not going to quit. I said this, I think, my 3rd week doing this. I'm not going to quit for 2 reasons. I love doing this, number 1. Number 2, it's really a legacy to leave behind. If, I'm driving along and I get hit head on by a dump truck and I die tomorrow or today, well, at least my grandkids have something that they can look at and say, I remember that Popsy guy. They don't now because they're too young. And as I said, if I had something like this when my grandparents were alive, I would have loved it. So that's the encouragement. If you're over age 60, share your experience with people. And if nothing else, do it as a legacy for your family, because you and I both know being over the age of 60 means there's a lot more behind us than there is in front of us. And we need to make sure that not only do we enjoy what's in front of us, but we leave a little bit of something for those that are going to be left after we're gone. So feel free to comment. I'd love it if you'd subscribe, give the channel a little hype. That would be great. And until next time, thanks for hanging out with Popsy Guy. Bye-bye.